I'm here with Nikki Farler.
Yes.
You're a special education teacher.
Yes.
And in the Perry County Schools.
Yes, at Robinson Elementary.
Robinson Elementary, and you're doing a couple of different projects. So go ahead and tell me what they are.
We have two. I have two. I focus mostly on students with autism and low incidence students. That's the majority of my caseload. So the first project is taking sensory mainstream. More often than not, students with autism are taken to another room or taken to another part of the building to satisfy their sensory needs. And we found at my school it's very important if we can do that in the classroom, so that when they're adults or they're in high school, they have skills, coping skills to be able to do that in the classroom. And they're with their peers and they're able to get that instruction that they can't get when they're in the resource setting and have a more intensive setting, and they're not getting those social interactions. So with this grant, we were able to do sensory toolboxes that the children take with them to their classrooms that have a sensory menu for them. So when they're feeling itchy or when their fingers feel like they need to do something, they can go to their menu that they've already made with me and pick out what they need and take it from their toolbox and be with their students and with their teacher and still able to continue with their instruction in that classroom while satisfying their sensory needs. And it's been amazing to see the progress of the kids since we've done this. Students that were 4 days out of reading class and in the resource setting are now getting reading instruction 3 days a week rather than 4. And they're with their peers more, and their peers become more understanding as well and are assisting them in satisfying their sensory needs, which has also been very interesting as we've started this. But then my other project is News from Unheard Voices. I have
Let's go back to autism first, because we're starting to learn more about autism.
Okay.
And I know I have two great nephews that are autistic, and so they have some special challenges or learning opportunities. It used to be about 1 every 200 babies born were autistic, and now that number continually to drop. It seems we don't know why. But what is autism, and then what do schools need to do to assist autistic children?
My autism is a developmental disorder. You see it manifest in many different ways. I have students who their autism can be seen in sensory issues. They have trouble with loud noises. They get overwhelmed in social settings. But then I also have the full spectrum to where they're nonverbal and they communicate with an assistive technology device in order to get their feelings and wants and needs expressed. So it can be different things in different students. Primarily, it's a developmental disorder that can affect sensory issues and communication, and their ability to interact with the world is different than, say, you or I.
Yep.
And they just experience things differently. And some of my students have taught me that they can see the world, they can explain the world better than I can, mostly, or they can break things down in problems to situations that I didn't think of. So they teach me every day when I teach them too.
Okay, and you have another project, the Unheard Voices.
Yes, as I said before, I deal with students who on the autism spectrum as well as low incidence students. And this project came about, I have one student in particular, I've had him for 4 years. He's in 8th grade, so he'll graduate this year. But he loves the news, but he didn't like to read AR. So last year we had a goal. We were going to read 100 books and he would get to go to WYMT because he is obsessed with Steve Hensley and the YMT News. So he read his 100 books and it ended up being 123 books. So he got to go to WYMT and he got to see the 4 o'clock news and interact with the anchors. And then he decided that he wanted to do webcasts. And over the summer, he began to do Facebook Lives. And so now we're turning that into a school news broadcast, but we're using students, low incidence students. We have students with lower cognitive abilities that are doing the news. We have students with lower communication skills that are doing podcasts for us for our school, but they're also interacting with our student leadership club, our speech team, to help us get the things that they struggle with, but they're also building relationships with students that they normally wouldn't. And you see this blossom and grow. And it's also manifest into Two of our students are doing their news broadcast on a local radio station on the weekends. My student Donovan is doing the weather on the local station on the weekends, and we get to hear him on the radio. So they now have confidence. It's built their confidence. They're active members of the Robinson community because of this grant and what we're able to do, and give them a voice that our student body and our community really doesn't get to see that often.
Okay, well, Nikki, you're doing a great job. Thank you so much for talking about your projects.
Thank you.